You get an intern who comes to a major corporation and they're technically smart and they flub it at some point and they just don't get an offer. And it's a missed opportunity coming out of a 4-year education because perhaps they didn't know that their attitude wasn't showing up the right way or their language wasn't the right way. So I feel it's so important to do both sides of that coin as we prepare our next generation of leaders.
There's a tremendous amount of research regarding grit being an indicator of success greater than that of your IQ.
Welcome back to another edition of Two Lit Chicks. It's your girl Fern here, and I'm with my partner in crime, Mrs. Alicia McKay. Hey, Alicia.
Hello, Fern, as well as our guest, Libby.
Good
Libby,
afternoon.
so good to have you. Now, listen, folks, this sister is beyond a baddie. She is a powerhouse. She was hailed from Atlanta. She moved to Dallas, where I knew her. Then she said, deuces, I'm out. And she went back to Atlanta to do all the things. So welcome to the Chicks podcast, Libby Sailor Wright. Woo!
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I have to say, just the intro itself is worth the price of admission. So there you go.
No, Libby. So it's been a minute. It's so good to see your smiling face, and we haven't talked in a while. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation to find out what's happening in your world. Your world has changed in the past few years, and so part of this conversation, is about talking about that journey and talking about where you're leaning into, what your passion is, and what your purpose is. So first and foremost, Libby and I connected when she was here in Dallas, circa 2018-ish.
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
2019-ish. And we have connections from my sister and the work that she did with Jack and Jill. We have connections as being Link sisters, and we have connections as being tech leaders in this space. And so it's great now to have you back here, and you're now in a different space. So tell us what's going on in your world since we last talked a little while ago.
Well, it is, again, very nice to be here with the two of you. You guys are doing amazing things, and I really appreciate you including me in this conversation that needs to be an ongoing conversation amongst all of us. I have had the fortune of moving back to Atlanta, Georgia, a city that I have come to know very well and love. And so a few years ago, my family and I made our way back to Atlanta. At the time we made our way back, I was still with Microsoft, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about, and had an opportunity to transition to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Atlanta. And that was a big shift and a big pivot. But I now find myself as the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta, where I have responsibility for 26 clubs, soon to be a 27th, in 9 different counties. Oh, wow. So it has been a wonderful opportunity to combine my professional experience with my personal passion around youth development.
I absolutely love that. And I met you when you were in the Microsoft era world. How has it been making a transition from tech you were a fairly high level within Microsoft to now running a nonprofit in one of the largest cities across the United States? What was that mind shift change for you?
What's interesting is it hasn't been as much of a mind shift as one might think. Primarily because I do think that nonprofits are now looking for business leaders to run the organizations. So for the most part, it is a business with a heart. So I run the Boys and Girls Club like a business, understanding that it is our tax status that makes us 501c3. It is not how you get things done. And I think in order for any organization to achieve its mission, you absolutely have to have some of that business discipline. And so I feel like I've been incredibly fortunate throughout my career. If you look at the opportunities that I've had, the places that I've spent time, using all of that to bring it into this space where it can have significant impact is incredible. I was at Microsoft for about 4.5 years, did a lot, learned a lot, loved the culture, and it was the culture of Microsoft that drew me to that particular organization. But bringing all of those experiences, including my previous experiences, into the Boys and Girls Club, every single day, I feel like I'm getting up and having impact that there's no way that I was having before. And so days might be tough sometimes, but when I think about what's the reason that I'm doing this, and do I hear and see the immediate impact, and the answer is yes, it makes it all worth it.
I love that. So is there more joy here than in corporate?
Oh my goodness. Yes. And let me give you a primary example. So first of all, in a nonprofit, you're a little scrappy with things. Your resources aren't as, broad as they are in corporate America. And so in corporate America, we used to tease we're chasing dimes down the hall. Now I am literally chasing pennies that I guess do not exist any longer down the hall. But the joy that comes from it is unbelievable. Because we are a scrappy nonprofit, our support center, which would be our corporate offices, are adjacent and connected to a club, just one of the 26. And so we start early in the morning while the kids primarily are in school, so nobody's on that side of the club. But by the afternoon, the kids start to come. So even if you're having a so-called bad day or you've done whatever, you start to hear screams and laughter and just this incredible joy from that side of the building that there's no way I would have experienced or did experience the entire time I was in corporate America. So anytime I might forget what is the reason I'm doing this, I can hear and I can go across to the other side and see. And let me tell you one story that was so heartwarming to me. My calendar, as you might imagine, is quite full right now. But the second graders at the club next door asked me to come visit with them because they found out that the president and CEO was a woman and she happened to be an African American or Black woman. So they wanted to meet with me. So I said, oh, I absolutely want you to put that on the calendar. So we cleared some other things so I could go spend 30 minutes with the second graders in the club right next door. When I was going, I said, hey, well, let them know I'll bring a book because it was like book month or book week or something. And they were like, no, we have questions.
Oh, okay.
So I showed up and the second graders, from the time I walked in the room to the time I left that room, had questions for me. And they were polite. They raised their hands, but they were very energetic and they asked some tough questions, but it brought so much joy to my heart, into my day. I couldn't have done that at Microsoft.
100% agree. And having been in that corporate sector spectrum, I understand that it feels good when you're leaning into your purpose, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does. It really, really does.
And so, Libby, of course, I'm so excited that you are at the Boys and Girls Club because of the fact that I have my own experience at the Boys and Girls Club. And I am a very suburban mother, but I do believe that all children should be exposed to the Boys and Girls Club. So I have my son is still, he has some ties with the Boys and Girls Club, and he went on the Choices College Tour last year, as well as my daughter asks me every year, please sign me up for the Boys and Girls Club because she finds a sense of community. So thank you for what you're doing. But of course, I want to get into the questions that we're asking. Of course, we're talking to an audience of about 18 to 24. What are some of the careers? I kind of have a twofold question. What are some of the careers that people that are looking to go into the nonprofit sector could actually look forward to in the nonprofit arena, especially in tech? Like where are the technical needs in the nonprofit arena? Where does that lie at now? Or what do you see from your perspective?
That is an absolute excellent question. So I will tell you, I'm extremely fortunate. I actually have a head of IT that works for our organization directly. And he has two other people that work with him, and they do a couple of different things, which you might imagine in terms of overall supporting the technology that we have, but also in terms of supporting programming, resource development, marketing, in technology, enabling us to do exactly what it is that we desire to do. So very strategic, as well as there's some tactical support that comes from a technology perspective. Last year, we concluded a campaign that included transitioning our technology from one platform to another, looking for ways to integrate said technology. And we are still in the midst of integration and implementation and standing up again how that technology supports the work that we're trying to do overall. So there are very similar roles that you would see in a corporate or a for-profit space in the nonprofit space as well. They just might be more limited. But the interesting thing about it is you get an opportunity to create something in this environment that you might not get the opportunity to create in a corporate environment. So I may not be able, quite frankly, to pay you the same level that a corporate partner may be able to pay you. But the experience you get, the opportunity to own something, the opportunity to build strong partnerships and relationships across a number of different companies and brands is certainly present here, and in a way that I'm not sure would be as present as if you're in corporate America. So the opportunities are here. I'll give you another example. We just moved to something that we call in Boys and Girls Club, My Club Hub. And this is, a new way, even though you're going to say that's new, a new way of registering our members and their families, a new way of scanning them into the club every single day and making sure that that data is included in my club hub, making sure if they have, permission from media releases, et cetera, all of that is in there. Any type of profile information around medical things that they need. We can even integrate the system with our kind of Salesforce system and other things like that. And that is a relatively new capability for all the Boys and Girls Club across the entire country and across the movement. The more clubs, obviously, that are on that, the better information we have about who we're serving, how we're serving them. We have larger data. We can tell a different story, get more funders to be able to achieve our mission. So again, technology is everywhere and anywhere, and the opportunity that you have to really build something is incredible.
So did your team build that application?
No, my team did not build it. The Boys and Girls Club of America built it, and then they asked for clubs to come on board. Our club was one of them, and again, very fortunate to have a head of IT and be able to afford that because we're a larger, big city club, and because of that, they were able to do some things with it that did not exist. And I do have a member of our team that does all of our data, our metrics and measurement, that has been responsible for giving additional information and capability about how to use my club hub, and also for training people around the country on the use of it. So there's a ton of opportunity, even in smaller nonprofit organizations.
I love that. How many resources does Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta house? How many employees, and then how many do you serve in the community?
Okay, so let's start with who we serve. So again, we've got 26 clubs, almost 27. The 27th club, by the way, this is another technology thing, is a mobile club.
Oh, love it.
And so because it's a mobile club, it's targeting teens primarily, and all of the delivery is going to be done through use of technology. So esports, all of their computer learning, everything will be done. We have podcasts and recording studios and all of that happen off of this mobile club. So taking the best of what we have and putting it there, and we have to deliver it through technology because it's not going to have the same physical space as an actual club. So there's that. But so the 26, almost 27 clubs, we have almost 8,000 members. Wow. In Metro Atlanta. We see on a daily basis a little over 2,500 kids that come to the clubs in the afternoon after school, usually beginning somewhere around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and they stay until about 8. And in the summertime, we see kids from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we're full day in the summertime. We are that safe, inclusive, and engaging space that parents need during those out of school hours, which is incredibly critical. So that's the number of people we typically serve. However, youth impacted in the Atlanta metro area is probably closer to 11 or 12,000. Again, 8,000 of those being our members. In terms of the number of employees that we have 408 employees. Oh, wow. About 100 or so, which are 100 which are full-time, and then the rest that are part-time youth development facing professionals.
Huge organization, Libby. It's so good to hear that you have that safe space during the summer. We hear so much about food insecurity with students during the summer months when they're not getting fed. And so I know Meals on Wheels and other programs are delivering to kind of fill that gap. But if you're open 7 to 7, then the center is able to cover that, at least in the summer when not in school. So that's so kudos for having the space and the time to provide that for your community.
We do. And, we're the closest to full wraparound services that these families get. That is not necessarily our mission, but it is the reality of the things that we do in order to achieve our mission. So we do provide our young people with meals after school and also during the summertime. We provide them with homework support and support in terms of getting ahead academically in the summertime. We expose them to different career opportunities and college opportunities that they may or may not get otherwise. We're very, very focused on physical, obviously, fitness and activity, as well as psychological, social, and emotional fitness, which right now is critically lacking in a lot of our young people. So we are, again, the closest to fully wraparound service than many other organizations, and all the time ensuring that we're developing the leaders that our country, our communities are going to need in the future.
Libby, I have a question for you, and this is in regards to leadership. I'm glad you spoke of leadership because this is a good segue. Are we underestimating or overestimating this generation's readiness for leadership?
Very good question. And you don't know this, but we just finished our strategic plan. And one of the things that we are doing in our strategic plan is we have an ambition to make sure that we are making our kids ready for the real world. Because if you talk to young people, they will largely tell you themselves, I do not feel prepared for the real world. And so everything that we're doing, even beginning when they're in kindergarten, all the way through high school, is looking at curriculum that makes them ready for the real world. Characteristics that you expect to see from any young person, from being able to have kind of grit and hope and ambition, be able to regulate themselves socially, know what it looks like to be financially responsible, understanding what it looks like to show up for an interview, how you show up, all of the things that one might need to be a successful or on the path to successful adultship is what we are working with them on today. So I think largely they will tell you they are not ready. Largely our companies, we have manufacturing companies that come to us and say, hey, one, we need a pipeline of great talent. In addition to needing that pipeline, we also need people that know how to show up to work on time. Mm-hmm. We need people that know how to be polite. These are some basic things that we know and that we grew up with that our young people just aren't as exposed to. And I blame a number of different things, but we're surprised at just the lasting impacts that we see from COVID. And so we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we can address some of those concerns.
I think that's spot on. Working with another program that we're developing for a school in Kenya with the links. And we're talking about STEM. You and I have done a number of programs with STEM, Libby, and trying to expose students to that. But we said, hey, if we're going to work with students, we have to not just talk about the different disciplines in STEM, but the soft skills that are so important. What's your posture? What's your attitude? How do you show up? What's your attire you bring? Because, we focus so much on the educational side, but I also feel like there is education in how you show up, how you deliver, how you present yourself. And that's important, not to assume that you're getting that at home, but also feeding that into the programs that we're delivering on the sciences and technology side as well. So I'm glad to hear that you all are doing both because it's critical. And where we see that fall down, or where I've seen it fall down, is you get an intern who comes to a major corporation like PepsiCo or Microsoft, and they're technically smart, technically astute. And they flub it at some point and they just don't get an offer, right? And it's a missed opportunity coming out of a 4-year education because perhaps they didn't know that their attitude wasn't showing up the right way or their language wasn't the right way. Right. So I feel it's so important to do both sides of that coin, if you will, as we prepare our next generation of leaders. And it's not just in tech, it's across the board.
There's a tremendous amount of research regarding grit and and grit being an indicator of success greater than that of your IQ. And so for us, there are hope scales, there's ambition scales, all of those things we want to be able to measure for our young people as well. We started doing, there's a young lady that works for us that is part of her kind of leadership development, did a pilot program that she called Inside Out University. And if you've seen the little kids movie Inside Out, or you're familiar with the concept, it's about teaching young people about their emotions and how to manage and control. And it starts with a younger lady, and then they bring in a second movie that has her kind of pubescent years, right? And this Inside Out University that this young lady brought to us was to teach our young people how to better regulate their emotions, how to recognize how they were feeling, not only in themselves, but also in others. And she also taught them how to do breathing exercises. So she said she came in one day and there was one little girl in the corner holding another little girl's hands going, just do your breathing exercises, do your breathing exercises. And so it's those types of things that we want to be able to try to do. The unique thing about the Boys and Girls Club, different than some other models where people consider it to be kind of more mentoring and not, is that we are intentionally putting our young people together so that they know how to interact with their peers. Because a lot of what they've been doing as of late doesn't encourage them to interact with their peers, but they need that as well. They need to know how to interact with other people, know how to regulate their own emotions, recognize it in somebody else. And so we are hopefully deriving those emotional, that EQ as well, right? And not just the technical skills that young people need.
Libby, is there a great stigma that the Boys and Girls Club is only designed to serve the underserved? Because I'm a very suburban mother and my kids love it at the Boys and Girls Club. My oldest, of course, when he was younger, but my younger one, she still loves it. And so what is the biggest stigma around the Boys and Girls Club and who you serve as a community?
Right. There is a stigma that we only serve people that have been underserved. The reality is that while we are never going to turn away any child, particularly not a child in need, whether that's socioeconomic need, we also have realized that need has a much broader definition. And so we are not going to turn away any child in need. People tend to come to us initially because they need a safe place for their child to go during those out of school hours. Once they get to us, and they realize the quality and the value of our programming, that's what makes them stick with us. One of the things we're working at specifically here in Metro Atlanta is what is that badge value that you get from leaving the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta? When people hear the word Eagle Scout, they automatically assume I'm going to put this person at the top of my list because here are the things I know they can do. It's not much different from some of the programming that we're doing in terms of, like you said before, those hard and soft skills. And so we want people to know that we do have, our young people have badge value. When they leave us, they are as reliable, as dependable, or even maybe more so than certain other badges that are out there. So we do believe that removing that stigma is important. At the same time, we know we will never turn away a kid who needs us, whatever that need means.
I love that. No child is turned away.
Correct.
No matter where you come from, no matter what your need is, you can be in some way fed, right, and fueled by Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta, or I'm assuming any Boys and Girls Club across the nation. It's not just Atlanta, although Atlanta's doing phenomenal things. But I think the broader context is these are services that it's not just for one group, it's for everybody.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And there are a ton of young people that do not have a safe place to go or any place to go after school. There is more need than there are areas and places for people to go. Whether or not you can afford to send them there or not, there is just not enough places. And so we are making it a purpose across the entire movement to make sure we're growing and expanding to be able to meet the needs of families.
Hey, I have a quick question. This is off script, but I was growing up, we were called Latchkey kids.
Yes.
Is that term still even relevant today?
We definitely have heard the term. We try to do the best that we can not to have as many. Let me tell you why. You've been hearing some stuff regarding behaviors of young people when they are out of school, especially nowadays. There's been some activity with our teens, and we want to make sure that we're providing an alternative. Teens and young people just need something to do, and they need something healthy to do. And we find that when we are in a community overall, no matter which city, but particularly here in the city of Atlanta, there is a reduction in crime, because if we're there and a lot of our kids are there, there's a reduction in teen crime that happens. And so the city of Atlanta, for example, was very focused on reducing teen crime. We did some things with the mayor in terms of his Year of the Youth initiative, and made sure that we were providing those safe spaces and building our teen enrollment and our teen engagement. And I'm happy to say that about 30% of our kids are teens, which is highly unusual, because there's so many things that teens can go and do. But about 30% of our enrollment include teenagers, and they enjoy coming, and there's great opportunities for them when they do.
So, Libby, I have a question for you, because you definitely have a place for students to go. These are all school age students. You serve up to 12th grade. Is that correct?
We do, but some clubs serve up to 24. So we have 4 centers in Atlanta that are in partnership with the Atlanta Police Foundation, where our young people have had some type of run-in, nonviolent crimes, but some type of run-in with the law. Some of it is truancy. In those cases, we go up to 24 years, but technically we are K through 12th grade for the most part.
So why should students, especially young students, let's say we're getting ready for college, why should they consider the Boys and Girls Club as being a part of their their college resume?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a couple of things. First of all, programs that people have heard of and known for a very long time still exist within the Boys and Girls Club, whether that's Keystone, where you're doing leadership and public speaking and all of the things, or our Youth of the Year program, which also allows them to go through some specific curriculum and skills to learn a number of different things, including public speaking. They also do interviews. They win kind of Youth of the Year at the local level, then go to the state level, then go to the national level, and there are scholarships at every single level. So there's opportunity for us to help you fund going to college. Additionally, we take you on college tours. You get exposure to various careers, whether it's law, whether it's dentistry, whether it's psychology, whatever it is. We're exposing our young people to those things. And so many of our young people will tell you, I did not know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be until I had the opportunity to go to the Boys and Girls Club and learn and see a number of different careers. So we're allowing them to engage and practice in that early, and then providing support through scholarships and other means to get them off and ready to go to school. So that's one reason why they should connect with us. And we also do a really good job of keeping in touch with our alum. We make sure that we're trailing them, helping them with their scholarships often, because, you know, they may get 10 different scholarships from 10 different organizations that have to be renewed or are sent in for request every single year. And so we're helping them to keep up with that. We're also helping them to network with other Boys and Girls Club alum and find opportunities. So the list goes on as to why it makes sense to kind of stay connected and get connected with us. We've also helped people find internships and jobs while still at the Boys and Girls Club, including we hire our teens to help support our young people in the summertime because we need more counselors. And if they've been with us for some time period, we usually have our older teens that get to work with our young people in the summertime. So,
and they know the program. So, I mean, they're great. It's an instant give back for what they've just received a blessing on. They can help the next generation. So love this whole notion of exposure and the cycle. So, you know, part of, we always have to talk about what's happening with AI and the tools. So more specifically, agentic AI and the tools that we're now are being embedded into our everyday. How is AI improving, changing, causing havoc? What's it doing in the nonprofit world with leadership development, with child development? What's the impact that it's having?
I think overall right now we're seeing a lot more from a productivity perspective. So less about the interface with the young people and more about how do we get a little bit more productive on the support side so that more of our dollars are going directly to programming. So I would say we've been using it more from that perspective. As we get ready to write new curriculum, for our new programs, it's been beneficial in terms of helping us think about where should we focus, how do we get information quickly and less expensively, and then now all we have to do is go back and verify or validate some of what we see in the learning. So that's been helpful as well. I think what's interesting, I don't know that our youth development professional, other than helping them prepare so that they get ready to spend more time with the young people, that they would say that it certainly had any kind of negative impact. Now, I know that some people assume that educationally there's opportunities in terms of, where people may not be taking ownership for some of the things that they do. But right now, I don't see any kind of downside for us as it relates to that. I think one of the things we're challenged with is how do we create stronger partnerships, right, with either other nonprofits that focus on technology or other corporate partners, because we simply cannot keep up. Right. And so we're going to have to use partnerships in order to make sure that we're able to give our young people what they need and what they, in some cases, what they want.
So, and I'll pass it to you, Alicia, just one add-on question to this. So are the students asking for more AI, or is it like they're not even coming to us with anything that's AI related at this point? But any take on that?
I would say that they are asking for more technology. Whether they come in and specifically say, I want AI, that's not the term, but they are saying that they want access to more technology. And so we're trying to figure out the way to do that. Actually, and esports is one of our, you would think it was the regular, old school basketball, football field thing, because they're coming ready for the esports. We're getting actually a lot of not a lot of funding, but we're getting funding for esports initiatives in partnerships with a lot of different groups. So that is one of the things that they ask for a lot. Those are always full, standing room only, our computer labs and our esports labs, standing room only. We also see a lot around all of our kids want to be the next whoever. And so we see a lot as it relates to recording and using the technology to support recording. So necessarily everybody can sing now. And everybody can write now.
Everyone can think they can sing.
Exactly. And so necessarily we're seeing it show up a lot there as well.
Okay. No, good to know. So I'm developing a program now, and you just made me think about what I talked about gaming, but you've elevated this whole esports piece.
Yes.
And how significant it is with the young adults and making sure that's incorporated. So thank you for that nugget.
Yes, it's incredibly important to them. Standing room only in those rooms.
Good to know.
And we had a race car driver come visit us who basically started his career using a game in order to teach him how to drive. And then when he finally got old enough to drive, was able to transition. He didn't drive his first race car until he was 17. He's now only 23, and he's won a couple of NASCAR.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So the reality is that he started driving, and the kids, of course, ears perked up. So now, again, they all are looking at it as ways to sharpen some skills before they even get to do the quote unquote real thing.
Libby, I don't see the Boys and Girls Club slowing down any because of AI. Because as a parent, you need to have a physical presence, and there's no AI that can take the place of physical presence with children and youth. And so we talked about, youth can look for internships at Boys and Girls Club, as well as there are careers in technology that are ongoing in the Boys and Girls Club. Are there any other opportunities that our young people can look for when it comes to, professionally speaking, what careers or jobs that are in the Boys and Girls Club that they could actually tap into?
So if you think about if you're at a larger club, I'm going to answer this in two ways. One, what we have today as part of the Boys and Girls Club in terms of how we're structured, and then two, what we're trying to prepare our young people for. So if you look at a large club like ours in Metro Atlanta, you name it, I've got it. So there's me, who has more kind of a general management experience. I have a marketing team. I have a resource development or sales. So it depends on how you want to look at it, but resource development or sales. We have a finance team, including a chief financial officer. We have an IT group. We also have HR. So we have a whole HR team. And then we have programming and operations, which is obviously the biggest of what we do. We've got facilities and safety. So you name it, almost anything you think of externally happens internally. The only thing that I do not have as part of the overall team is we don't have a lawyer on that works with us. Other than that, and we don't have doctors, obviously, but other than that, we have every other thing that you could potentially think of that works within the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta. And then if you think about Boys and Girls Club of America, they actually do have lawyers. So they've got everything that I just said, and they also have lawyers that work there. So you think about it, it pretty much happens within our organization. In terms of the way we're preparing our young people, we're preparing our young people a little bit differently. We always were a safe space. We always had higher graduation rates from high school than kind of the market that we were in. But now what we're doing is getting very, very clear on which portion of our kids are interested in college preparedness or readiness, which portion of our kids need to be more focused on work, life, and workforce readiness and experiences. And that's a larger percentage. And so we're getting more specific on workforce development, particularly workforce development centers for our teens, and which includes not only giving them opportunities to go and experience what it's like to be in a particular industry, but actually giving them experience as part of the Boys and Girls Club to develop the skill or trade right there within the Boys and Girls Club. So that's the benefit of having some facilities and that we've had for a number of years. How do you shift and turn them from what they may have been years ago to help them be more of a community resource, not only for our young people and their families, but again, for the whole community around workforce development and driving skills and trades. So we're in the midst of, in this new strategy that we just solidified, working with our foundations, with our corporate partners, with the city to create a shared partnered space that allows us to drive the skill sets that the young people need. And we found this to be critical for the city of Atlanta because you guys may or may not have heard this, but when it comes to economic mobility, Atlanta is 50 out of 50 when it comes to the larger cities. So we have to do something now. And we feel within the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta that our opportunity is to change that statistic for our young people and their families. And so that's what we're pushing really hard to figure out, how do we do that and how do we do it?
So Libby, you said something interesting just now. You said that on that 50%, well, no, you said there was more leaning into workforce development. So less folks trying to go to college is how I read that, than going into, hey, I want to do a trade role, which there's no shade in either one of those. But I did not know that there were less folks interested in going to a four-year university. Or is it just a four-year university? Maybe they're starting with a two-year with a community college, then jumping to four-year?
So I'd say here's the reality. So I don't know if there's less people interested, but there are less when you look at a percentage of the overall population that still go to any institution, whether it's a two-year or a four-year. So we're still seeing that at about 30 to 35% of the population actually has a degree, whereas you have the remaining population that does not. Most of our young people, when they do go to college from Metro Atlanta, they are the first in their family, or maybe the second, but mostly the first generation to do so. And we had been focusing a lot of our energy and effort around college readiness when we had a whole nother percentage of young people that is not what they were interested in. And so at this particular time, our focus is on helping them not only, if you want to be college prepared, yes, we can do that. But if you want to learn a skill or a trade that allows you to go straight from high school into the workforce, that is what we are preparing you to be able to do, which means those soft skills that you might acquire when you get the opportunity to go to a two-year or a four-year college need to start earlier, because a lot of our kids are not having the opportunity to do that, or something disrupts that college experience. And so we're making sure that we're giving them options that go beyond a 2 or a 4-year degree.
Wow. This is
Wow, this is a lot,
a
Libby.
lot. Yeah, I mean, so you know what? I'm not sure if this was the intent, but I was never a supporter of. I was not a not a supporter of Boys and Girls Club America, but I financially didn't contribute. And you've made me a financial contributor today.
Don't
Okay.
worry, Fern. I financially have contributed on on behalf of two lit chicks.
Okay, so yeah, so this. You know what, Libby? What rings true to me is we kind of come to a little bit to a close is legacy.
Mhm.
And you spent a large part of your career on the corporate side, whether it with Microsoft or Coca-Cola, other organizations that you worked for. But I'm hearing this is now touching here, this is
Mhm.
touching head, it's touching your
Mhm.
heart and the gut down here, and
Yes.
the impact that you're having in the community is huge. Do you think this is the most significant part of your legacy?
That is a really good question. I'm one of those believers that everything happens for a reason. Nothing is by coincidence. And so I do think that this is a significant part of my legacy. But had I not done all of the things before, I wouldn't have been ready for this and ready in the way that I am. I will tell you what is interesting, and life comes full circle. So, my father, who is now deceased, he spent the majority of his career in corporate America. He was an engineer by trade, and he went to work for a technology company that no longer exists. This is way back in the day. He went to work for a technology company, mainframe computers, the whole nine, that no longer exist. But he decided at one point during his career that he wanted to open a manufacturing facility for that company in an inner city.
Hmm.
And he went to the leadership of that company and he says, I want to open this in the inner city of this particular city because I believe that if we put opportunity and jobs in this city, in the inner city, that we will create opportunity for economic, you know, mobility. That's not the words he used, and he did not use the words urban development, but essentially what he did was urban development. Fast forward, I started off as a marketer. Started off as a marketer that thought all I wanted to do was marketing, but at some place along the way decided, you know what? You want to be a general manager. Go ahead and get some additional skills. Get those strategy skills, get the supply chain, go ahead and get some operation skills, innovation, etc. And I did, which positioned me to be able to do what I'm doing right now. Then when you think about it, I am doing work in cities and towns and areas that need us most. And now what we're talking about is developing workforce development centers to make sure that the kids and their families in that community have opportunity. So the reality is, I thought about it and I said, oh my goodness, this is a full circle moment in terms of what my father was always trying to do and how, through a relatively long career, I finally brought myself around to a place where I believe I am called to be here and called to do this work. I don't know what the end is going to be, but I know that this is where I'm supposed to be right now and what I'm supposed to be doing. And that is why I am spending this energy. And that is why every morning I get up and go, okay, let's go for it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Alicia, do you have a last question for Miss Libby?
No, Libby said that's so beautiful. I do not, like I said, I just love the Boys and Girls Club. So I really do. I went myself, my kids are going. So you just solidified and hopefully influence other mothers as well as young people to consider careers in this field, as well as get involved in this field, even if they want to make any type of financial contributions.
Please.
It is much needed, and so
It is. And I will tell you, I don't know the exact numbers, but a lot of our team members are former Boys and Girls Club kids.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
And
I
what I
think that is
want people,
huge.
yeah, I want people to lead. My husband is a Boys and Girls Club kid. You're a club kid. I want people to be as proud of being a club kid as anything else. And so I want them to walk out, and before somebody says, "Are you?" or "Were you?" they automatically say, "I'm a club kid." Because there are so many club kids. We know the famous ones that they constantly put out there, but there are so many people who have done so many remarkable things that if we were to fill an arena with those people and let kids go, "I want to talk to that one, that one, and that one," they would be amazed at the value that the Boys and Girls Club has had on just our society.
Well, so what we do, Libby, you've been fantastic. It was so worth the wait for us to get this time with you this afternoon. So we always end it for all of the Boys and Girls Club members around Metro Atlanta, but around the world, and our base that's listening. We always want to have just a human touch around our guest speaker and learning a little bit about them. So I'm going to ask you 5 quick Firehouse questions. You shouldn't have to think about it. It should just be like boom, boom. I mean, like
Okay.
it should be quick. All right.
Got it.
All right. So your favorite AI tool, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, or other?
So, well, Copilot. So that's very
Okay.
specific.
She's going back to her
Copilot.
Microsoft.
Little Microsoft, but yep, Copilot, and I still have it. I'm one of 5 within my team. My IT person said I only got 5 licenses. You can have one. I was like, thank you.
All right. So walk in the park or a bike ride?
Walk in the park.
When you go on vacation, do you want to be by the ocean or in the mountains?
By the ocean.
Steak or sushi?
Sushi, vegan sushi.
Okay. Vegan. What is vegan sushi?
Meaning it just has vegetables, seaweed, and rice. No fish.
Okay. No meat or fish.
No meat or
All right.
fish.
So when you go to the movies, is it a comedy, a drama, or a rom-com?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It's a combination of all, but I would start with it's probably a rom-com.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, we want to say thank you to Libby Sailor Wright for joining us, for being a part of the Two Lit Chicks community, and sharing what her purpose that she's leaned into. I think we could hear it from your heart, how much you love what you're doing, and how not only that, but this time was when it was ready for you to do it, right? So you've had all of that corporate background and all that formulated into this powerhouse president and CEO that's running one of the largest Boys and Girls Club in Metro Atlanta. So we want to say first, thank you. You embody what we're all about, which is giving it back and paying it forward. So we're so appreciative of you spending the time this afternoon, and thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Thank you for joining us today. Listen, like, subscribe at Two Lit Chicks Podcast.
Remember, stay curious, stay bold, and always stay lit.
Woo-hoo.